At the beginning of the drama, we see the main lead, Kong Jun, reminiscing about the worst day of his life. I had a dream of becoming a famous taekwondo athlete, but an ankle injury during a fight shattered that dream forever, and now I can never play taekwondo again. Jun is saddened by this thought when the drama's main female lead, Ji, calls out to him, who has a crush on Kong Jun and has known each other since childhood. We're also shown flashbacks to their childhood, revealing how they've been friends ever since. Then, another main lead, Ju, appears, who also has a crush on Ji. Meanwhile, we see another girl, Jin, who also has a crush on Ju, who doesn't like how Ju is looking at Ji. This is just a trailer of the drama, demonstrating how many twists and turns the story will unfold and how interesting it will be. Now in the present, we see our female lead of the drama, Ji, who is protesting for her teacher, Mr. Kim, who is being unfairly expelled from school. Ji wants to avoid leaving. Just then, our main lead, Kong Jun, arrives and, seeing Ji protesting, says, "I heard it's going to rain, so stop all this drama." Hearing this, she dismisses Yun and tells him to mind his own business. By the way, no love connection has been shown between the two, as what's shown in the beginning will gradually unfold in the story. Suddenly, it starts raining. Ji looks at Yun's umbrella with hope, but he walks away without paying any attention. Ji stands under a tree, shielding herself from the rain with a cardboard over her head. Jun looks back because he cares for Ji, but he never shows it. So he leaves. And the next scene, we see the students at the point court, where the boys are practicing the high jump. When Jun returns, one of his friends comes up and tells him to jump well. Everyone is watching him, he asks. "So, what can I do?" Then his friend tells him, "Look, your crush, Jin, is also there looking at you." Actually, Jin is the second female lead in the drama, whom Jun likes. Jin is also very good at studies. Jun starts dreaming about all the girls and Jin cheering him on. So he gets nervous and walks on. But seeing some of the taekwondo players and the coach arriving, he gets distracted and falls to the mat before he can jump. All the girls start laughing at him, and Jin makes a funny face, wondering if he's a loser. Jun is then humiliated in front of everyone, and he lies there in shock. Meanwhile, we see Mr. Kim carrying his belongings and leaving the school. Mr. Rin tells him that he should say goodbye to the students once. He says, "I want to leave quietly because saying goodbye last time would be tacky." Just then, the principal rudely bids Mr. Kim adieu and tells Miss Rin to hurry to the meeting. But she bluntly says, "I'm going to see Mr. Kim off at the gate." Hearing this, the principal is aghast and leaves. Miss Rin comes out and tells Mr. Kim that the children really enjoyed their woodworking class. What will happen to them now? He's growing even more depressed when they hear Ji, who is still protesting, approaching her. They both urge her to stop protesting, but she becomes emotional and says, "I don't want you to leave at all, and I'll fight for you to the end." Mr. Kim then explains to her that she shouldn't leave class like that. He gives her one of his wooden crafts and tells her that when she achieves something, she should tell everyone that she was his student. Ji is saddened, but she agrees to Mr. Kim's advice, stops her protest, says goodbye to him, and returns to class. And the next scene, we see Jun again, where the coach advises him to focus on his ankle injury and not get too involved in sports. Actually, as we know, Jun suffered a serious ankle injury during a fight, which means he can no longer play sports. Jun feels very bad and leaves with sadness. He remains silent in class, and Ji watches him. Just then, Jun receives a notification on his mobile phone announcing his best friend, Jong's death anniversary. So he hurries to leave class. His friends ask him where he's going, but Jun doesn't answer. Ji then asks, "What's wrong with you? Are you missing class?" He replies, "You told me this morning to mind my own business, so that's what I'm doing." And then he leaves. On the way, his mind replays the coach's words about how he was chasing him. Then, upon reaching his friend's grave, he sits down. The photo on the grave reveals that Jun used to have two friends, Jong, who has passed away, and another boy whose whereabouts remain unknown. Jun tells Jong that he's quit Taekwondo, shares many other heartfelt secrets, and then leaves. While he was going in one direction, another boy, the drama's second male lead, named Ju, was coming in the other direction. But the two couldn't see each other. Furthermore, even though they used to be friends, they were now enemies. But the reason for this enmity, we'll find out later. Well, we're now shown a night scene. When Jun arrived at his grandfather's shop, He saw him cleaning and realized that he was going to sell the shop soon due to financial constraints. This made him even more sad, but then he happily helped his grandfather clean and promised him that he would soon grow up, make a lot of money, and buy the place back. And then they would live a life of luxury, his grandfather then said. If that's the case, then I'll live longer to see you achieve your dreams. Well, the next day, we're shown a seminar at June's school, where guests are informing the students about careers and internships. A student asks, "Can we study and work simultaneously?" "It wouldn't be difficult," he says. The guest explains how working alongside his studies will provide practical knowledge, a salary, and a substantial income by the age of 20. June, whose dream of becoming a famous Taekwondo athlete has ended, has no idea what he'll do next. He needs to earn money, no matter what. So he directly asks, "What's the salary for an internship?" All the students are surprised that he's only asking about money, when he seemed unconcerned about anything before. The guest explains, "I can't say exactly, but it's likely a lot." So June asks, "But what is an internship? What does it mean?" Everyone was even more perplexed, wondering what was going on in his mind. He was asking about money without even knowing what an internship meant. The guests were a little shocked by June's words. But then he explained how an internship could both teach and pay. A teacher then came and told all the students, "I hope you found this seminar useful," and explained that the guest's company had a spot open for an internship. Any interested students should raise their hands. Hearing this, Jean G quickly raised her hand. Meanwhile, June was about to raise his hand as well, but his friend was trying to stop him from doing so. So he grabbed his hand. But June still raised his hand, and I end the next scene. When everyone came out, Jean G asked June why he wanted to do an internship. June found this question quite strange and said, "Am I not allowed to do an internship?" And then he left. But their classmates, who had been watching them chat from a distance, are all deeply puzzled, wondering why June had suddenly submitted his name for the internship. Could he have started to like Jean G? One boy then says, "I think it's something because someone told me that Jean G punched June in the nose in 4th grade, causing his nose to bleed." Then another friend says, "But I heard they were dating in elementary school." Hearing this, everyone else becomes even more surprised, and so on. Then we see June and Jean G sitting in an office, interviewing for an internship, as there was only one opening at the company. The teacher asks them why they want to do this internship. Jean G then explains, "It's my childhood dream to become a carpenter." Meanwhile, June says, "I just want to do this for the money." Meanwhile, gossip is still swirling in the class about the two. A girl asks June's friend, Jisoo, "You were in elementary school with them, so you must know everything." The boy is lost in thought and replies, "I can't say anything." It's quite tough. June and Jean G enter the class. Jean G's friends ask her, "How was your interview?" She recalls that the interviewer, after hearing both of their answers, selected Jean G but rejected June, leaving her deeply saddened. After school, Jean G throws a party for her friends, overjoyed at how she's slowly moving closer to her dream. In the next scene, we see their new teacher, Mr. Kim's replacement. His name is Mr. Lee, who's also a bit funny, who suddenly felt like smoking. So he approaches a boy and asks for a lighter, who turns out to be none other than Youngju. Youngju gives him the lighter, but since he injured his hand after falling off his bike, he starts bandaging it. When he sees Mr. Lee, who isn't smoking, he's simply watching it light up. This seems strange to Youngju, Mr. Lee explains. "Actually, I quit smoking 6 months ago. But seeing a cigarette light up like this gives me peace, and it feels like I'm smoking, so I relax. Besides, it's my first day on the job, so I'm quite nervous." Youngju doesn't respond. Seeing Youngju's injury, he asks, "How did you get that injury on your hand? Did you run away from a fight?" Youngju then looks at him angrily. As he doesn't like talking to anyone, S.O. Rudley tells him to mind his own business. Mr. Lee gets a little scared and starts walking away. But when he looks back, he sees Youngju following him, as if he's following him. So Mr. Lee gets really scared and speeds up, but Youngju is still following him. Finally, Mr. Lee arrives at school, where he meets a teacher who says, "You're Mr. Lee, right?" The new teacher from the woodworking class. He says, "Yes." Then they both say hello, but when they see Youngju, they ask, "Who are you?" He tells them, "I'm a new transfer student." The teacher says, "But why aren't you wearing a school uniform?" He says, "Because I haven't bought one yet." By the way, Mr. Lee calms down a bit, realizing he wasn't stalking him. Well, in the next scene, we see June's friend tell June, "Today, I'm finally going to propose to my crush, Bai, the school beauty. So I'm really excited, and you'll help me." So Jisoo hands Jun a party popper. They stand by the door. Eun-bai is about to enter, unaware of this. Just then, the classroom door opens. Everyone thinks it's Eun-bai coming in, so Jun detonates the popper. But then, instead of Eun-bai, Young-ju enters. Jun is shocked, wondering what Young-ju is doing. Meanwhile, Jun's friend's plan is ruined. Young-ju watches this angrily, and everyone else is also shocked. Just then, the teacher enters the class, and everyone takes their seats. She introduces Young-ju as a transfer student. After class, Jun tries to talk to Young-ju, but he rudely pushes him aside and walks away, and Jin-ji witnesses it all. Actually, Young-ju was one of the 3 boys we saw on Jong's grave. But now, due to a fight, the two don't talk to each other. Now, we return to the class scene. All the students are discussing Young-ju, believing he's definitely a gangster or a drug abuser. Anger flashes in his eyes. Someone suggests that he probably worked in a factory. I heard that from someone, and the bottom line is that the new transfer student is incredibly dangerous. Hearing this, everyone panics. Jin-ji also becomes extremely frightened, and the glue in her hand falls onto Young-ju's seat. Before she can do anything, Young-ju enters, and everyone runs back to their seats in fear. Young-ju sits down on the glue seat without looking, while everyone else looks at him. But Young-ju doesn't seem to realize anything. Just then, Jin-ji approaches him, but he simply stares at her, scaring her. Because of this, she couldn't say anything. After class, when Young-ju was called to the teacher's office and he tried to get up, he realized he was stuck to his seat. He was trying so hard to get up, which made a lot of noise, and everyone watched him closely. Some were even afraid of what would happen to them if Young-ju found out they were the cause. After a lot of effort, Young-ju finally got up from his seat, but his ankles were torn, leaving everyone stunned and hiding their faces. Young-ju, too, was completely stunned. He sat back down and didn't say anything to anyone. He spent the rest of the class in shorts, visibly furious. What have these people done to me on the very first day of class? That's why I won't spare anyone. Well, after the school, he went home. Here we see that Se-jin's mood soured after seeing her name 3rd on the topper list, as she wanted to be first. In the next scene, we see that Jun joins the restaurant where Jin-ji works. However, Jin-ji thinks that Jun is doing this to spend time with her. In reality, Jun didn't even know Jin-ji worked there. The restaurant manager tells Jin-ji that according to the rules, she's Jun's senior, so she should be the one to explain the work to him. So, she explains the work to him and asks him what he's doing there. He replies, "I just came here to earn money, and I can't tell you anything more than that." The scene then shifts to Jin-ji's home, where we learn that Jin-ji's relationship with her mother isn't exactly good, and they're constantly fighting because her mother doesn't like the fact that Jin-ji wants to become a carpenter. Jin-ji's father and sister are also shown in the background. Their family situation is not at all good. Therefore, Jin-ji works part-time jobs while studying. Jin-ji's mother scolds her, saying, "Every day, there's some complaint from your school. Even today, the principal called me to complain about your protest." Jin-ji doesn't respond and angrily leaves. She tries to get a teddy bear from a gaming machine, but it won't come out. So, she starts hitting the machine in frustration. Just then, Young-ju comes up from behind and stops her. He opens the machine, takes out some items, and puts them back in, because that's his job. Then, looking at Jin-ji, he asks, "Are you my classmate?" Jin-ji says, "Yes." Young-ju doesn't say anything further, as he understands that she's in a bad mood at the moment. So he leaves. But when Jin-ji looked at the machine after Young-ju left, she saw that Young-ju had left a teddy bear there, which she was trying to take out. This brought a smile to Jin-ji's face. The next day, we see Mr. Lee's first class, where he was very nervous and was telling the students to do things they had already done in the previous class. Young-ju was also just staring at him nonstop. So Mr. Lee asked, "Why are you looking at me like that? Respect your teacher. I am older than you." Then he said, "You still haven't returned my lighter." Everyone was surprised and started laughing. Mr. Lee, embarrassed, tells Young-ju that if he had even a little respect, he wouldn't have spoken like that in front of the class. He replies, "Actually, my mind is empty, so I don't think emotionally." Mr. Lee then says, "Maybe you're even weirder than me." Hearing this, the students laugh even more, and Mr. Lee has been thoroughly insulted. And the next scene, we see Jin-ji eating ice cream with her friends after class. Jin-ji's friends ask her what her relationship with Jun was like as children. She explains that she was slightly taller than Jun, so she used to call him short and hit him a lot. Because of that, he would always cry in front of me and be afraid of me. Her friend laughs and says, I think June definitely likes you. Ji wonders if that's true and then falls into deep thought. Well, we see that in the evening, when June and Ji are working at the restaurant, Ji starts remembering what her friends had said about June's crush on her. Then she notices that June isn't vaping the burgers properly. So she helps him and teaches him how to vape properly. June notices that Ji's hand is injured, so he asks her to put a bandage on it. But Ji can't do it herself, so June helps her. This leads to a childhood memory of a time when June was applying medicine to Ji's hand and Ji kissed him. This shocked June at the time. So, in the present, June asks, did my doing that remind you of anything? Ji thinks he's probably referring to that kiss. So, she steps away and says that it was all childhood memories and begins to blush intensely. June asks, do you like me that you're reacting like this? And who am I talking about anyway? Ji feels awkward, like an insult, so she starts teasing him with her childish taunt. You're short, so no one can like you. I'm not at all. June feels a little bad and tells Ji to shut up, but she refuses. So June leans closer to Ji and says, if you don't shut up, this time I'll kiss you, and we'll settle the score. Ji is taken aback by June's sudden statement, so they look at each other in surprise. But then Ji pushes June away, saying, there's no need to be so tough. June also asks, why did you push me? Just then, the shop owner calls out to June from outside, telling him to pay attention to the bamboo. So he leaves, telling Ji that he'll see her later. According to him, he was just joking with Ji, but Ji pushes him. Poor Ji is left wondering what the hell happened to June after work. As they're heading home, Ji has a lot of stuff with her, so June offers to help her, but she refuses. He says goodbye and starts walking away. He stops a little further and returns to Ji, who is happy that June came to help her. He asks for her security keys, which she irritably gives him. Then, June wishes Ji good luck, as Ji's internship starts the next day. He leaves. Ji continues to think about June on the bus. When June arrives home, his foot hits a box, injuring him. Grandfather turns on the lights, and June tells him that they still have 2 months until the move. Why are you packing already? He says, we have a lot of stuff, so I'm packing everything slowly. This means that due to lack of money, June's grandfather has sold everything, including his house and shop. He has to vacate the house within 2 months. The grandfather asks, why are you coming home so late these days? Did you eat anything? June tells him about his new job. The grandfather says, I already have money. So why do you need a job? Just focus on your studies. But June refuses, saying, no, I want to work part-time while studying. The grandfather then falls silent. He then leaves for his watchman duties. Well, we see that June also went to sleep that night, and the next day, he woke up to a message from someone saying, I want to buy a watch from you today. He quickly takes his watch out of his cupboard and heads to the location where a girl wearing a hoodie is standing. When June looks closely at the girl, he remembers that it's Eunbai. He asks, why are you dressed like that? She explains, my agency forbids me from shopping before my debut, but I can always shop online discreetly, so I came like this. Eunbai asks him to give her a classmate discount, but he refuses and takes the full amount. Eunbai says, please don't tell anyone. He says, okay, and leaves. June then sees Yongju on his way to class and tries to talk to him, but Yongju ignores June and changes his route. June stands there, looking at Yongju, but then Jisoo comes up from behind and tells them to go together, and then they both leave on the other side. We see Mr. Lee arriving at school, but Miss Rin stops him and takes him to a corner to talk, asking him to explain why he's avoiding her calls and messages, and why he's come to her school. And how did you develop a passion for teaching? Mr. Lee then says, I didn't know you were in this school, and I was a little bored with the architect. So I started teaching. Before Miss Rin could say anything further, another teacher leaves, telling her she had a meeting with the director. Miss Rin then simply tells Mr. Lee that no one in the school should know they know each other. MR. Lee says, if you keep talking to me like that, everyone will find out. Hearing this, she turns away and leaves. This means that Miss Rin and Mr. Lee knew each other before, and perhaps they had a relationship, which we'll learn later. In the next scene, we see Jinji's friends in the classroom discussing Jinji's profile picture. Yongju is also secretly looking at Jinji's profile, as he's starting to like Jinji a little. He's overjoyed when he sees the teddy bear he gave her in the photo. Then the girls ask June, "How are you feeling without Jinji?" He replies, "It's very peaceful, because if Jinji were here, she would just be making noise." Then we see Jinji's internship, where it's very noisy, and instead of on-site work, she's being given other useless tasks like typing, serving tea, and setting tables. She wasn't being taught anything, but rather being made to work like a servant. This irritated her deeply. Then one Jinji decides to talk to her boss. So she goes to her boss and says, "I want to learn on-site work, not typing." The man, irritated by this, starts lashing out at Jinji, saying, "I know what's right for you and what's not. So don't teach me. Understand." Jinji's anger only intensifies. That evening, she leaves and files a case against the company on every online platform, alleging female harassment. And then what happens next? This post went viral and caused a storm. Many people called the school to confirm the news, and the teachers, tired of the constant calls, became angry. The assistant director, enraged, told Miss Rin to speak with Jinji and resolve the matter. However, Miss Rin and the other teachers advised the assistant director that before speaking to Jinji, they should speak with the man who had secured her internship. However, the assistant director disliked this idea, as Director Lin was receiving an award shortly, and he didn't want any criticism to come to his attention. The next day, Jinji arrived at school, and everyone in the class was shocked to see her. Jinji was asked why she hadn't gone to her internship today. Before Jinji could explain, the director called her to his cabin. Upon her arrival, the assistant director pressured her to delete her post, but she refused, claiming she had been wronged. The assistant director tried to reason with her in every way, from affection to anger. But Jinji stood her ground and left, leaving the assistant director deeply irritated. Later, when Jinji tells June everything, he supports her and says that she did the right thing and that she quit her job and didn't continue. Hearing this, Jinji seems happy. They talk peacefully for a while, but then they start fighting again. But deep down, Jinji was touched by how much June cares for her and always supports her. Now we see that after school, when Jinji goes to a restaurant with her friends, her internship friend Sumi also arrives, but she's trembling. Jinji asks her, "What happened? Did your boss bother you after I left?" She replies, "No, nothing like that." To distract Jinji, her friends start telling Miss Sumi about their new classmate, Yongju, and discussing rumors about him. Jinji, hearing this, says that nothing like that happened. "You guys stay quiet," she said. Just then, Yongju arrives to serve them food. Seeing him, they're all horrified once again, wondering if Yongju had overheard all their talk about how they think he's a gangster. He leaves without a word. Then Jinji stops him and says, "You know we're your classmates, right?" He replies, "Yes, I know you. And how could I forget you all?" Actually, he meant the cling to the seat part. Jinji then starts talking to him further and learns that this restaurant belongs to Yongju's mother, which is why he works there. While they're talking, June and his friend Jisoo arrive. Yongju, irritated by the sight of June, takes him outside to talk, telling him, "I told you not to be around me, but you won't change. Remember, we don't serve food to boys like you in this restaurant." But then Yongju's brother calls out from inside, telling him to let June in. His order is ready. June enters, and Yongju glares at his brother angrily. His brother tells him he's their customer, so don't overreact and calm down. But seeing June, Yongju leaves in shock. So, when he returns home that night, Yongju's mom and brother explain to him that he should forget about his childhood and start afresh. How long will you hold on to those things? But Yongju wasn't in the mood to listen. So, he leaves his meal and goes to his room. In his room, Yongju sits clutching his taekwondo keychain. We saw June with a similar keychain in the beginning. Then Yongju begins to reminisce about the past, where we see that three boys, Yongju, June, and Jong, were best friends and shared the same dream of winning a gold medal in Taekwondo. No matter how he achieved it, Jong died. It's still unclear how the death occurred, or how the rivalry between June and Yongju arose. Just thinking about it in the present moment, Yongju becomes emotional. The next day, a Taekwondo player comes to school and asks June to empty his locker, which is needed for new players. June says, "Okay, I'll do it." Then his classmates ask him, "Are you going to never play Taekwondo again?" He says, "Just consider it that way. It was just a fun game, and I've lost interest in it now. Hearing this, Yongju became so angry that he came up to Jun and started beating him, even starts abusing him, asking how he could call Taekwondo a fun game. But Jun remained calm and didn't react. Meanwhile, a girl secretly placed a letter in Jun's locker. That evening, while Jun and Jisoo were sitting near the beach, Jun tried to throw his keychain into the water, but Jisoo stopped him, saying if a sea animal ate this keychain, their stomachs would be damaged, and they didn't have a doctor or medicine. Hearing this, Jun stopped and laughed. The two continued to joke around, which brightened Jun's mood. In the next scene, we see Jinji has found a new part-time job at a supermarket. However, his mother began having problems with this job. Because of this, she was constantly texting her and scolding her. Later, Jinji sees Yongju trying to steal a teddy bear from the gaming machine outside her supermarket. So she goes over and offers him juice. They sit together and drink. Yongju asks her why she quit the internship. She explains that they weren't letting her do any on-the-job work, instead making her do useless things. He replies, "You did the right thing." Jinji then asks, "Can I ask you something?" Yongju replies, "Yes, of course." She asks, "What's the rivalry between you and Jun that you hate him so much?" But Yongju remains silent, seemingly unresponsive. Jinji understands that he's uncomfortable. She says, "It's okay, you don't need to answer, but can we be friends?" And then extends her hand in friendship. So Yongju agrees, and they both smile, as they've become friends. After everyone leaves school, Jun opens his locker to retrieve his belongings. He finds a letter hidden inside his Taekwondo uniform, which a girl had left there some time ago. No one knows who that girl was, as she wasn't shown. Unable to decipher the letter, Jun asks the manager of his burger shop for help. Jinji wasn't there, and only the manager could help. The manager says, "I don't understand much of it, but it probably says something about suicide, and that the girl who wrote it used to like you, but now she doesn't, and that's why she's going to commit suicide." She then searches on her mobile phone and shows Jun that it's a trending word meaning suicide. Jun becomes extremely alarmed when he sees the sign at the end of the letter, as if he's remembered something. He quickly runs home and searches through his old belongings. He finds a diary with a note written for him by Jinji and remembers that Jinji often made this sign. This makes him even more alarmed, thinking that Jinji must have written this letter to him, the girl who loved him but is now about to commit suicide. S.O. He calls Jinji nonstop, but when there's no response, he rushes to Jinji's house, where Jinji's parents tell him that Jinji is planting plants on the terrace. He quickly went to her and, seeing Jinji safe and sound, hugged her. Jinji was shocked by Jun's sudden actions and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you so upset?" Jun sat down, showed her the letter, and explained everything. Jinji told him that many girls at school make this sign. While Jinji was discussing the letter, Jun secretly began deleting the messages he had sent to Jinji out of concern for her. The message, which read, "I love you too, so don't commit suicide. I'll always be there for you through all your problems." This clearly indicated that Jun not only cares for Jinji, but he also secretly likes her deeply. They decided to discuss Miss Rin about the letter tomorrow. The next day, they went to the staff room. Yongju was already standing there with Miss Lee. Miss Lee saw them and asked, "What are you doing here?" He replied, "We're looking for Miss Rin," and explained the letter. Mr. Lee looked at the letter but couldn't understand it either. He said, "I'll talk to the director about it, and when Miss Rin arrives, I'll show her the letter." They left, and Jun, in a panic, began to wonder who this girl was. Then Jisoo came to their aid. They made a list of all the girls and met them individually, asking if any of them liked Jun, who is now heartbroken and suicidal. However, most of the girls refused, some even saying, "We don't even know Jun. Who is this guy?" Meanwhile, when Director Lin arrived at the school with the award, she learned about Jinji's internship, which is why she wanted to meet her. Just then, seeing Yongju outside their class, the director is delighted and thinks, well, this is Jinji's classmate too. She then leaves. It's unclear why she was so happy to see Yongju. Meanwhile, Jinji goes in search of the girl and meets Eunbai, asking her if she ever had a crush on Jun. She flatly denies it, saying, "Who would like that crazy guy?" But when Eunbai sees the sign, she reveals that she learned to make it from Jinji's friend, Sumi. Hearing this, Jinji remembers that she also learned to make the sign from Sumi and realizes why, during her internship, Sumi would get so excited whenever Jun was mentioned, which is why she was so upset at the restaurant that day. Thinking about this, Jinji runs to Sumi's locker. where the sign was located. But by then it was too late, as Sumi had already reached the corner of the school terrace and jumped off before Jin-ji could react, shocking Jin-ji. The sound shocked the entire school, and Director Lin also heard it. Everyone was confused as to what had just happened, but then we learned that everyone thought a girl had fallen from the terrace, but that wasn't the case. Furthermore, it wasn't Sumi, but Southeast Jean on the terrace. Actually, Se-jin came to the rooftop and sat in a corner listening to a song when Young-ju, enraged, picked up a plant and threw it at Director Lin's car, making Jin-ji think Sumi had committed suicide. But that wasn't the case. But why Young-ju did this to the director's car? This will be revealed later. Now Se-jin had seen Young-ju doing all this, and Young-ju is shocked that this girl saw him doing this. But as he's about to leave, Se-jin stops him and says, "Let's go on a date." Young-ju is shocked, wondering if this girl, whom he's seeing for the first time, is saying this to him. Se-jin, meanwhile, had said this because he was impressed by Young-ju's daring personality. But when Young-ju left without saying anything, we were shown that Mr. Lee had already seen everything and was a little scared, wondering what the boy's problem was. Meanwhile, the students were shocked by the sound of the plant falling, and Director Lin came down with the other teachers as the plant had fallen on her car. Jin-ji later tells Jun that the letter was written by Sumi. Jun is shocked, and Young-ju also hears this but says nothing. Jin-ji, deeply distressed, goes to Sumi's house with Jun and Jisoo to find Sumi. Meanwhile, seeing the state of the director's car, all the teachers ask the children if they saw anyone doing this, but no one knows anything. The director tells all the teachers to bring whoever did this to her. "I want to speak to them personally," she says, and then takes everyone else with her to continue the meeting. The teachers return to their classes and ask the children who did this, but no one knew anything. When Mrs. Rin asks the children, Se-jin looks at Young-ju, but doesn't tell anyone that Young-ju did all this. In the next scene, we see Jin-ji, Jun, and Jisoo arrive at Sumi's house, but no one is there. Jin-ji says, "I probably know where Sumi is," and starts leaving. Jun tells Jisoo to wait there, following Jin-ji. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee arrives at the school meeting, and everyone is confused as to who he is. Director Lin asks him to introduce himself. The assistant director explains that they've appointed Mr. Lee to replace Mr. Kim in the architecture department. All the teachers congratulate Mr. Lee, saying, "Mr. Kim spoiled all the children." But don't let that happen. He says, "Okay." After the school, while Young-ju was riding his bike, he spotted Sumi, but he didn't recognize her, so he walked away. Sumi was very upset and kept walking until she reached the middle corner. At school, after meeting, when all the teachers were coming down, Se-jin deliberately stopped Mr. Lee in front of the director and asked him about starting a club. The director liked the idea, but then the assistant director came in and said, "You need a minimum of 5 students for a club. You should talk to Jisoo and Jun and find 2 students." Se-jin is displeased with how they added Jisoo and Jun, who aren't even her friends, SO. After everyone leaves, she tells Mr. Lee that she doesn't want to start a club anymore. Mr. Lee is shocked to hear this. Meanwhile, Director Lin looks at her car and says, "Let my car remain like this until the student who damaged it is found. I'm very angry at who dared to damage it." Now we see Mr. Lee meet Miss Rin before leaving and give her a letter from Jin-ji, saying, "Jin-ji gave it to me." Seeing the letter, Miss Rin becomes very worried. She calls Jin-ji and learns that Sumi wrote the letter, and Jin-ji and Jun are still searching for her. They arrive at a location, but Sumi is nowhere to be found. Jin-ji then remembers a time she spent with Sumi at a certain location, so she arrives at that location. However, they both search frantically, but Sumi is missing. This further disturbs both of them, as the police haven't been able to find any information yet. On the other side, while Young-ju was buying a teddy bear from a shop, he saw some girls there, and something struck him. He checked Sumi's profile on his mobile phone and remembered that the girl he'd seen a while ago was the same one Jin-ji was looking for. He quickly called Jin-ji and told her that he'd seen Sumi an hour ago near the observatory. Jin-ji told him to rush to her if he was nearby and then began to leave. In the next scene, we see Sumi crying profusely. Standing at a stand, she relives a flashback, revealing that she broke an expensive orchid at her internship some time ago. Her manager threatened to file a police complaint if she didn't pay him back. However, Sumi's family situation wasn't so good. She lived alone with her grandmother and worked part-time jobs to support the family. However, the manager was repeatedly sending her messages and threatening her. Due to this, Sumi had decided to commit suicide. Before dying, she confessed her feelings to Jun in a letter as she had never been able to muster the courage to express them. Therefore, she did this before committing suicide. Meanwhile, Jun and Jin-ji quickly leave their camps and head to Sumi's location. Here, Young-ju arrives first at Sumi's place and finds Sumi sitting there, crying, but she's fine, meaning she's no longer suicidal. Sumi, upon seeing Young-ju, asks, "Who are you?" He replies, "I'm the new transfer student from your class." The two sit together and talk, and Young-ju advises her not to think about dying like this. "Many people care about you," she says. "I had no choice, but I didn't have the courage to commit suicide." Just then, Jun and Jin-ji arrived. Seeing Sumi, Jin-ji immediately hugged her, and both of them broke down in tears. Jun thanked Young-ju for coming, but he left without saying anything. Later, Miss Rin arrived, and after completing the formalities with the police, Miss Rin told Jun and Jin-ji to go home. She would drop Sumi home. Then they both left. While boarding the bus, Jun noticed Jin-ji's leg was injured, and he remembered Jin-ji's fall while running. He asked, "Are you okay?" She replied, "Yes." She then added, "If Young-ju hadn't been there, who knows what would have happened?" He replied, "Yes." He arrived just in time. Jin-ji then asked, "Why are you fighting? He hates you so much, yet you're so soft on him." But Jun doesn't respond, so Jin-ji starts worrying about Sumi again. Jun says that sometimes we don't know what's going on in someone's mind. Meanwhile, when Sumi and Miss Rin arrive at Sumi's house, Jisoo is still waiting there. When he calls Jun, he learns that the whole matter has already been resolved. Hearing this, Jisoo becomes extremely angry at Jun, asking, "Why didn't you tell me about this? I've been waiting here like crazy for so long. I didn't even go to the bathroom." Jun apologizes, disconnects the call, and silently thinks he could have gone to the bathroom. Then, he sees that Jin-ji has also gone home. Well, in the next scene, we see Young-ju having dinner with his family. He watches on TV that director Lin is receiving an award for his school. This angers Young-ju. His family then asks him if he meets director Lin. He says yes. Young-ju's brother and mother begin to explain that he should focus on his studies and not worry too much about anything else, and that once they win the case in court, they won't be able to do anything. Then Young-ju remembers that director Lin did something in the past that made Young-ju hate him so much. But what that is will be revealed later. For now, he angrily turns off the TV and leaves his house. The next day, at school, Mr. Lee and the other students see director Lin's car in the same condition and wonder why he hasn't moved it yet. Just then, Young-ju arrives, and Mr. Lee stops him and asks, "I wonder who the person is who ruined director Lin's car so badly. If I find him, I won't let him go." But Young-ju wasn't giving any answer. So he directly asks him, "Why did you do this? I mean, I saw you throwing the car plant." Hearing this, Young-ju is shocked. Then he says that he knows that you did all this because he saw you throwing the plant. Young-ju is shocked to hear this, but then calms himself down and says, "It's a good thing you saw it because it doesn't matter to me." As he leaves, Mr. Lee looks at him in surprise, noticing he's not scared at all. Before class, Jun and Jin-ji meet to check on each other.
Young-ju arrives.
Jin-ji thanks him for yesterday and asks him if they can have dinner together someday. He says yes, which Jun finds quite strange. The next scene is shown in the staff room. The assistant director discusses Sumi's situation in a meeting, saying that no one should know about what happened yesterday. He then asks Miss Lin if that student Sumi came to school today. She replies, "I told her to rest for a few days." He then comments, "Children these days are so weak. They make such big moves over small things." Hearing this, Miss Lin becomes a little angry and says that they are children. Moreover, life is difficult for children who manage everything alone. Director Lin overhears all this from outside and then comes inside and says, "You're absolutely right." Everyone greets them, and Director Lin asks about Miss Rin. Miss Lin says, "We should talk to the manager of the company who is threatening Sumi." Hearing this, the director reacts rather strangely, saying, "Okay, you can talk to him, but remember to make sure that neither the school nor the company gets hurt." Director Lin then tells all the teachers that if the student who damaged her car isn't found by tomorrow, she will file criminal charges and the police will investigate. Furthermore, the class teacher in whose class the student was will also have to bear the consequences. Hearing this, all the teachers tense up. After the meeting, Director Lin, remembering Miss Rin's words, thinks that this lady talks too much. Then he gets a call from the company manager, and the director starts shouting at him, saying that I told you to remain calm, and you are busy spoiling everything. She then angrily hangs up. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee meets Miss Rin in the corridor and asks her if the director will really file a lawsuit. Is she just saying that to scare the kids? Miss Rin says she probably wasn't joking. She can do anything. Mr. Lee becomes afraid, and he starts worrying about Yongju. Then Miss Rin says, I told you to stay away from me, so why aren't you? Then they both go their separate ways, and the next scene, Miss Rin brings up Director Lin's criminal charges and reassures the kids that if any of them were involved in this, they should quietly come forward and apologize. Otherwise, there could be serious trouble. Hearing this, Se-jin sends a video to Yongju, clearly showing that Yongju threw the plant. After class, they meet in a quiet place. Yongju asks her, what do you want from me? She says, as I told you last time, I want to date you. She then adds, some guys hang around me, so just to show them, I want you to be my boyfriend. In a way, we'll pretend, or I'll complain about you. Yongju is forced to agree to date Se-jin. They then click a photo together. That evening, when Sumi visits Jinji, they spend time together. Jinji tells her not to even think about suicide again. She replies, yes, that won't happen. Anyway, Yongju told me not to entertain such thoughts again. Hearing this, Jinji teases her. You used to like June, whom you even gave a letter to, and now you're liking Yongju. She laughs and says, well, it's good. June likes you anyway. Jinji shrugs it off, claiming it's nothing, but the question lingers in her mind. Does June really like her, or is it just everyone's misunderstanding? Meanwhile, June is standing outside a shop, looking at some posters, when Se-jin arrives. June asks her if she's thinking of running away. She says no and then leaves. Se-jin is thinking about her conversation with Yongju. Suddenly, a crowd of girls gathers near a store, and she sees a dancing girl. Later, when the girl takes off her costume in a corner, she realizes it's Eunbai, who sits down in a daze. Se-jin spots her and asks, have you given up your acting training? She's shocked to see Se-jin, then explains, I've come here to work in place of my friend, and I'm still training. Actually, Eunbai also wants to become an idol. This is known to the entire school, but Se-jin knew that she was lying all this time. By the way, these two used to be good friends earlier. But due to some reasons, the conversation between them ended. Well, Se-jin leaves saying that if you don't want to do training, then you can at least come to school. Then Eunbai remembers that she has been rejected from the training school and now she cannot go there. But no one knows about this. Then she wears the costume again and goes to work. Well, the next day we see Sumi and Jinji coming to school together. During the conversation, Jinji comes to know that Sumi will continue her internship, but in some other company. Jinji says, I'm so proud of you. A little while later, their other friends join them, and they're all very happy together when suddenly a notification appears on everyone's mobile phone, and they're shocked to see a photo. Later, June shows Jisoo the photo of Yongju and Se-jin together. June is also shocked, wondering why they're together. Jisoo then begins to think that it's jealousy because, according to Jisoo, June likes Se-jin. However, June has secretly liked Jinji since childhood, not Se-jin. In the next scene, when the two enter the class together as a couple, all the students start making shocked sounds and teasing Se-jin, while June makes faces at them, which Jinji also notices. Se-jin steps forward and informs the entire class that the architecture department of Jinsong University is holding a car racing competition. The prize money is 100 million won. So anyone who wants to participate should let me know. Jinji directly agrees to the competition. Then June also agrees because he needs the money. But the other students misinterpret this and start teasing them again. Something is going on between them as June is seen doing everything with Jinji. Meanwhile, Jisoo becomes confused as to which girl his friend likes, Se-jin or Jinji. Meanwhile, Assistant Director Mr. Gu looks at Director Lin's car, wondering if this woman is really going to call the police to arrest the student. Then, he notices something dropped on the side of the plants, which is not shown to us at this time. Well, in the next scene, we see June sitting next to Yongju after class, but when Yongju asks him to leave, he says, you told me this before, so now tell me something new. But Yongju ignores him and walks away. While June is trying to reconnect with Yongju, June receives a call from Jinji, who says the assistant director has called him and Jisoo to meet. The three of them arrive and wonder why they were called there. Mr. Gu arrives and asks them, weren't you three in class the day the flower pot fell? Were you? They answer, yes, because all the other students were busy looking for IT. Mr. Gu brings out the Taekwondo keychain and asks them, which one of you is it? Seeing Yunis' assumption, Yun le place. It's mean. Mr. Gu then tells the other two to leave. As they get up to leave, he tells Youngju, "You're being expelled from school." Everyone is shocked, wondering what he's saying. Mr. Gu said that he was being expelled from school. June was shocked. Jinji and Jisoo were also shocked and tried hard to stop Mr. Gu, but he asked them to go to class and June was unable to do anything because he himself was in shock. Coming to class, Jisoo and Jinji were worried as to what had happened. June had not even gone to the terrace that day. Then all the other classmates also came to know about the news coming out of June from school. Here June had understood that this keychain belonged to Youngju and his kitchen was near him. But he still lied. After class, some students are talking about how crazy June is about damaging the director's car. Youngju overhears this and angrily asks, "What are you talking about?" A boy then reveals that Mr. Gu found June's keychain on the terrace, and June has admitted that it belongs to him, which is why he's being expelled from school. Youngju is shocked. We see June arrive at his house that night, and Youngju asks him, "Why did you admit the keychain was yours when it wasn't yours?" He replies, "Because I know it's yours and you did it. But why did you do it? Answer me." Youngju angrily says, "Stay out of my business. I'll go tomorrow and tell them it was me who threw the flower pot, not you." Then he starts to leave. So June asks him again, "Why did you do this? What happened between you and Director Lin that made you do this?" Enraged, Youngju grabs June's collar and says, "I told you to stay away from me, and you're a murderer anyway." Hearing this, June is disturbed. He's deeply hurt because Youngju always blames June for his friend Jong's death. He's deeply hurt because of this. Youngju then returns home and, upon seeing his brother, remembers his brother's accident, which severely impacted his leg and left him unable to walk. Director Lin came to show sympathy and acted as if she was very nice to everyone. But when they actually needed her, for example, financially, she backed off and flatly refused to help. This permanently ruined Youngju's brother's sports career. And this is why Youngju hates Director Lin so much, because she's not as sweet as she pretends to be, but rather a monster. Then his brother asks Youngju, "Why are you looking at me with such pity?" He replies, "I was just looking at you with disgust because of how messy your room is," and then leaves. Youngju receives a message from Sejin saying, "You have to show up with me again to show off." But he replies, "I'm going to admit the flower pot deal in front of everyone," which makes Sejin a little tense and worried for Youngju. Meanwhile, when June arrives home, he sees Jinji having dinner with his grandfather. Grandpa asks him to sit down. Later, when June and Jinji go into the room to talk alone, Jinji sees the red tape on the furniture and asks, "What's all this?" So he brushed things off, saying, "You don't need to pay attention to all this." But Jinji had already found out about Grandpa leaving their house, so she didn't make much of a show of it. But then she asked about the keychain, asking if it was really his. He denied it, saying, "No, it wasn't mine, and there's no need to ask whose it was." Jinji became angry and angrily asked June, "Why did you blame yourself when it wasn't yours? Have you gone crazy? So I don't know if you'll quietly come to the school office and tell everyone the truth that keychain wasn't yours. I'll wait for you outside the office." Then she left, saying goodbye to Grandpa. Grandpa gave her a wooden tool she'd made as a child, and Jinji became a little emotional. Grandpa tells her, "No matter how much you fight with June, remember that I'm your grandpa too. And as long as we're here, you should keep coming to see me." She lovingly says, "Okay," and then leaves. After returning home, Jinji, after a lot of thought, realizes that June wasn't participating everywhere for her, but for the money, because her grandpa's house had been sold. Meaning, his financial situation is dire. And I was mistaking this for love. I'm such a fool, really. Just then, Jinji's father knocks on the door and invites her to dinner, and Jinji comes down. Even while eating, her family is constantly talking about June and how the poor man's house has been sold. Hearing all this, Jinji feels even worse. The next day, at school, Youngju is looking at the director's car when Mr. Lee comes in and says, "You must be feeling guilty, right?" He then tells him that he's going to confess his mistake. Lee becomes very upset and tries to stop him, but he doesn't listen. But when he reaches the office, he sees Minhua, the class leader, confessing to Mr. Gu that she accidentally dropped the flower pot. Confused, Youngju is about to go inside, but Sejin grabs his hand and pulls him aside, telling him not to do what he's trying to do. Yongju asks, "Why is Minhwa confessing when it's my fault?" She replies, "She's the class topper. Mr. Gu will never expel her." Yongju asks, "Is this fake boyfriend drama so important to you that you can't choose anyone else but me?" She replies, "The carpentry club competition is more important to me. So you join him, and Minhwa will be there too, so you can help him out a little as a thank you." So Yongju agreed, and they left. On the way, Yongju and Minhwa bump into each other, but they don't say anything. Then Se-jin remembers that last night she told Minhwa, "I know Mr. Gu supports you and your twin brother, which is why you topped the exams. So, quietly take the blame for the flower pot incident. Otherwise, I'll give the Ministry of Education evidence of what you were all up to." Then Minhwa agreed, feeling incredibly scared. Mr. Gu then went to tell the director about it, and she was shocked. But then they had the car moved away. It seemed they had resolved the matter peacefully, Dai in the staff room. After all the teachers had left, Mr. Lee privately asked Mr. Rin, "What just happened?" She then reveals that Minhwa is in their class and has admitted her mistake, he says, but it's also possible that someone threatened her. She then says, "Who would even think of messing with Director Lin?" Mr. Lee doesn't ask much. Here, the class was discussing why Minhwa might have done such a thing. Just then, a commotion broke out in the corridor. Jisoo realized that Eunbai had finally arrived at school. He ran to meet her. Some students were hovering around Eunbai, asking about her debate, but she didn't respond. Some girls started making fun of her, saying she must have been rejected. But Jisoo intervened and took Eunbai away. Eunbai and Se-jin bump into each other on the way, but they don't talk. Well, the next scene shows the first season of Carl's Pantry Club, where everyone has arrived, and Mr. Lee says that since you're all in the same class, there's no need for introductions. But when Yongju arrives a little later, everyone is shocked to see him. And most of all, Mr. Lee was even more surprised when he learned that Yongju also wanted to be a part of the club. The next day, all the architecture department students were taken on a site visit, and Yongju and Se-jin were there together. Seeing them together, everyone started talking about how Yongju seemed dangerous and rude, but this turned out to be romantic. Yongju tells Se-jin that everyone is talking about us. She says, "They must be gossiping about you, because they don't like you." He replies, "They're all afraid of me, and I admit they don't like me. That's why they're gossiping, but they must be gossiping about you too." Then the students start running away doing panda panda. So both of them also went to see where someone was dancing in a panda costume, and everyone was praising his moves. Se-jin understood that it was Eunbai, but she did not say anything and quietly sat in a corner with Yongju. Then all the students also clicked photos with the panda and had a lot of fun. Eunbai was feeling very hot in the costume, but she did not want her classmates to see her. So she remained like that. But later, during a group photo, some students start pulling Eunbai for a photo, and her marks are revealed, revealing that it was none other than Eunbai. Miss Rin was upset by the sight, and Se-jin, who was watching, also became upset, leading to a rather serious scene. Eunbai was insulted in front of everyone. When Se-jin returned home that evening, Eunbai came to her and asked, "What should I do now, since my reputation has been ruined by the pursuit of money? Everyone at school knows that I've been fired from the agency." She replied, "It's true, isn't it? You shouldn't be afraid to accept the truth. How long will you continue to lie?" Hearing this, Eunbai became even more enraged and left in anger. When Jin-ji arrived home, her sister was talking about Eunbai, who disliked her at all. But Jin-ji didn't find it funny how her sister was making fun of another girl. So, without saying anything, she left and went to her room. The next day, when Eunbai came to school, everyone started making fun of her, which embarrassed Eunbai. Even in class, everyone laughed at her, saying, "She used to lie so much before, and now look at the truth." Eunbai somehow managed to calmly accept the situation and handle it. Well, in the architectural design class, the teacher asked everyone to present their designs and asked the other students to point out flaws in the presenter's design. Jisoo presented first, and then Eunbai was called in. But her design wasn't complete, and Se-jin was called in to judge the designs. She started pointing out all the flaws in Eunbai's design, anything she found that was bad or not right. This angered Eunbai so much that she began to judge Se-jin when her design was revealed, saying that this was Se-jin's orphanage, where she lived, while all the other rooms belonged to other children. Everyone was shocked to hear this, as no one knew that Se-jin was an orphan and lived in an orphanage. Even Se-jin was shocked to hear this. Then, she composed herself and continued, "Yes, this is my room, and I designed the orphanage. But Eunbai, you're wrong. I can exchange any room. I don't have a fixed room because I'm the oldest among all the students there, so I can do whatever I want there. All the students are even more surprised, and somewhere, hearing all this, Yongju feels bad for Se-jin. And today, she develops a soft spot for Se-jin. Some students in the class start telling Eunbai that even though they don't like Se-jin, they were friends at one time, so why bring up the orphanage issue? Then, Eunbai, unable to bear it any longer, storms out of the classroom. Jisoo follows her and tries to stop her, but she doesn't stop. Instead, she scolds Jisoo and leaves. Everyone was talking about Se-jin's stay in the orphanage, so she was sitting there sad. Yongju came to talk to her because he was worried about her, but Se-jin told him to keep quiet. Then, while they were working at the club, Minhwa's brother named Choi Min also started making fun of Se-jin, but his sister silenced him. Just then, Eunbai's mom called Se-jin, and Se-jin was receiving repeated messages from her. When Se-jin saw the messages, she also left class and hurried away without telling anyone. Eunbai's mom was worried because Eunbai had run away from class and her phone was switched off. Then, Se-jin quickly rushed to the museum where Eunbai was sitting in a box of merry-go-rounds. Se-jin went and sat next to her, and then we see a flashback. From this, we learned that a few years ago, Eunbai and Se-jin were good friends and often spent time on the same ride. In the present, Eunbai became angry at Se-jin, asking, "What are you doing here? It's because of you that everyone in class is misunderstanding me now." Even then, Se-jin explained, "We all have secrets, but we can't run away from them. And I'm right, you told everyone my truth. Now I have no secrets left. That's why I feel light." Then, Eunbai began crying and expressed her feelings of shame for what she had done. She also apologized to Se-jin. The next day, they were eating together. Jin-ji's friend commented, "Look at how much they were fighting yesterday, and look how they're eating together today." But Jin-ji was happy that they had become friends again. Well, in the next scene, we see Choi Min looking for something in Director Lin's office. When Director Lin arrives, we learn that Director Lin is Choi Min's aunt, which is why she favors the twins so much. She then tells Choi Min, "I know you're looking for your birthday present, which is in the other drawer." He becomes overjoyed, and the two begin joking with each other. Then, we see Mr. Lee going to pick up his daughter from school. Apparently, he has a daughter whom he cares deeply for. Here, Se-jin arrives at her orphanage and sees a photo outside her room. IT reveals that Yongju had come to her orphanage 2 months earlier. Then, a scene from 2 months earlier shows how, while Yongju was working, the orphanage children played with Yongju and were overjoyed because everyone liked Yongjae. So, Se-jin saw Yongju for the first time and had a crush on her. A love that we could even call one-sided. But Yongju didn't see Se-jin there, and they all took a photo together. In the next scene, we see Jisoo asking Jun if he liked Jin-ji, just like he used to, but he flatly denies it. Jin-ji overhears all this. Then, she remembers how, as a child, Jun had told Jisoo that he didn't like Jin-ji. Jin-ji had cried profusely after hearing this. She even hit Jun in front of everyone to teach him a lesson. But later, she deeply regretted it. But in the present, she makes a decision and leaves her house at night. Then, she arrives outside Jun's house and tells him, "I want to do something with you." Jun asks, "Is that so important that you have to do it right now?" She says, "Yes." And then, referring to the kiss at the burger shop, says, "I want to try that again." Jun is utterly shocked, thinking Jin-ji is asking him to kiss her. And here the episode ends.